Hi, Mystery Recapped here. Today, I'm going to explain a war thriller movie called The Beguiled. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. The movie opens in Virginia in 1864, during the third year of the American Civil War. A young girl named Amy is seen walking through the woods gathering mushrooms. Moments later, she stumbles upon a Union soldier with a leg bleeding profusely. He introduces himself as John McBurney and asks where she is from. Amy explains that she lives in a nearby boarding school with only 4 other students, a teacher, and the school's owner, Miss Martha. Upon hearing this, John asks to be taken there, and although he's from the enemy side, the kind-hearted girl agrees to help him. Not long after, the two reach the boarding school, and John immediately collapses at the front door. The girls are captivated by the handsome man, so they carry him inside the building and place him in the music room. Martha then orders Amy to tie a blue cloth to the fence, which signals to the patrol that they have an enemy. However, upon seeing the man's critical condition, she changes her mind and decides to hand him over only after he recovers. Next, Martha and the school teacher Edwina remove the shrapnel from his leg and stitch up the wound. When they exit the room, Amy tells everyone the man's name, but Martha claims they don't need to know him, as he won't be staying here long. Sometime later, while Martha is washing her face, she is startled by a loud bell. It turns out a patrol has arrived, so Martha rushes to the gate to greet them. The captain then warns her that several enemy soldiers are nearby and she should be cautious. Martha agrees and asks him for some bullets for her father's gun. She explains that there's fighting nearby and that she would feel safer with something to defend herself. The captain hands her some bullets without hesitation, and the patrol departs. Meanwhile, the girls watching from the window feel relieved that Martha didn't hand over John. They haven't even had a chance to take his pants off yet, after all. The next morning, Amy goes to check on John and notices that his health has improved significantly. She then heads to the kitchen where everyone works together to prepare food. It turns out the girls are all dressed in fancy wear, perhaps to impress the handsome guy. Later, Martha goes into the music room to check on John, who's now awake. He expresses his gratitude that she took him in and cared for him when he needed it the most. However, Martha coldly reminds him that his presence is not welcome here and that he is not a guest. Moments later, a teenage girl named Alicia walks into the room and offers to help with anything, but Martha harshly tells her to leave, claiming that no students are permitted to enter. In the afternoon, Edwina approaches John and hands him soap to clean himself up. They begin chatting, and the man reveals that he ran away from the battlefield because he didn't want to die. He then asks Edwina about her life, and she shares that she's from Richmond and traveled a lot for her father's business. As the two continue chatting, John flirtatiously says that he's never seen someone as beautiful as her. When he asks about her greatest wish, Edwina responds that she just wants to leave this place. Later that night, the girls gather for evening prayer, during which Alicia requests permission to use the bathroom. However, instead of going there, she heads straight to John's room and passionately kisses him. He is stunned by what just happened, but Alicia doesn't say a word and simply returns to join the others in prayer. This is turning into a real-life harem anime real quick. The next day, during dinner, Martha suggests to the girls that they should pray with John tonight.
Is that a euphemism, Martha?
Everyone agrees, and they proceed to the room, where they decide to play music before praying. But moments later, someone knocks on the door repeatedly, which scares the girls. Martha tells them to stay put and heads outside to see what's going on. Shortly after, she returns and reveals that it was just 2 soldiers to whom she offered food. This leads to another debate about whether they should hand John over or wait for him to heal. They begin voting, and everyone wants him to stay, so Martha has no choice but to agree. Later that night, after the soldiers leave, Martha invites John to have brandy with her, and he agrees. They sit around the fireplace, drinking and talking about their lives. It's clear that the tough Martha has begun to soften toward John, who seems charming and manipulative. He praises her strength and claims how caring she is toward the girls. John then asks if she had anyone in her life before the war, to which Martha responds yes, with a sad expression. In the following days, John's health begins to improve gradually, and he starts walking with the help of a cane. He notices that the garden around the house has been neglected, so he starts fixing the rose bushes, pulling weeds, and pruning the tree. During a break, Amy brings him some water, and they engage in conversation. John claims that she's his best friend, as she's the one who saved him. This makes Amy very happy, and she runs to the house in excitement. However, she's soon stopped by a jealous Alicia, who asks if Amy was bitching about the other girls with John. Meanwhile, John continues working and notices Edwina watching him from a window. He is soon approached by Martha, who thanks him for his hard work. She then notices his leg and mentions that he should be able to leave by the end of this week. Upon hearing this, a worried John suggests they could use a gardener, as there is still much work to be done. He tries to reason with Martha, saying that he's afraid of being sent back into battle, but she seems to have made up her mind. Soon enough, the news reaches the other girls, who are sad to hear that John has to leave. They thus convince Martha to invite him for dinner, as he always eats alone in his room. Afterward, Edwina visits John, saying she doesn't want him to leave. He responds that he doesn't want to leave either, and confesses that he has feelings for her. Edwina is skeptical, but John insists that he has liked her since they first met, and was simply scared. He claims that he's tired of war, and invites her to run away with him to get married. Upon hearing this, Edwina feels touched, and they share a kiss, but they immediately back off when the other girls arrive and invite John to dinner. In the evening, all the girls dress up in their best clothes to impress John. Martha criticizes Edwina's bare shoulder and requests that she cover it, but John abruptly changes the subject and starts talking about the delicious apple pie. And by apple pie, he means that bare shoulder. Alice boasts that she made it, which makes Edwina very jealous. She claims it was her recipe, and Amy also emphasizes that she picked the apples from the woods. John then whispers in Edwina's ear that she looks stunning and requests permission to visit her later. After that, he toasts Martha, claiming that she's the bravest woman he has ever met. After dinner, everyone heads to their rooms, and Martha and John stand at his door, getting very close. They are on the verge of kissing when the girls upstairs start making noise and startle them. Later that night, Edwina waits for John in her room, but he doesn't appear. She arrives in the hallway and notices noises coming from the next room. Edwina then opens the door, only to find Alicia and John making love. This leaves her distraught, and she immediately runs away from there, while John follows her to justify himself. However, she refuses to listen and pushes him away, causing him to fall down the stairs and break his boner. Upon hearing the commotion, Martha and the girls arrive to investigate. They are shocked to see an unconscious John at the bottom of the stairs, his already injured leg now broken. Alicia then comes up with a fake story, claiming that John was assaulting her when Edwina barged in. To her surprise, everyone believes her, and they carry him to his room. Martha then examines his leg and concludes that the only way to save him is to call a doctor, which she can't. Therefore, she decides they must amputate his leg to prevent it from becoming further infected. She asks Edwina to fetch a saw and an anatomy book, and the distraught woman tearfully obliges. In the morning, the girls hold a small ceremony in the yard to bury John's leg. Meanwhile, inside the house, he awakens and is horrified to discover that one of his legs is missing. He begins to scream frantically, and soon Martha and Edwina arrive to calm him down. They apologize and attempt to explain that they had to cut his leg to save his life, but John accuses the two of butchering him because he went to Alicia's room rather than theirs. He calls them vengeful bitches and begins cursing them with abusive words. A terrified Martha locks him in the room, but he continues screaming, which frightens everyone in the house. Hours later, when John finally calms down, Alicia visits him and apologizes for what happened. It becomes clear that they were having an affair, and she tries to encourage him by saying that he will be strong soon. However, the frustrated man aggressively grabs her hair and demands that she steal the room keys from Martha. Alicia initially refuses and claims that it could land her in serious trouble, but when he continues to hurt her, she has no choice but to agree. In the afternoon, everyone is gathered in the dining room discussing what they must do about John. The girls are terrified of him and want him to leave as soon as possible. Even Alicia doesn't like him anymore, but Edwina continues to defend his actions, for just then, John appears downstairs with crutches and reveals that he has obtained Martha's revolver. He once again accuses Martha and Edwina of mutilating him just because he didn't sleep with them. This terrifies Amy, and she claims that his yelling is scaring her pet tortoise. But John snatches the tortoise from her and stomps it to death.
Fuck your turtle!
leaving the poor girl distraught. This seems to finally calm John down. Meanwhile, everyone starts freaking out, so Martha gives Amy a blue rag and asks her to tie it to their front door. This will serve as a signal to passing Confederate troops that a Union soldier is here. The little girl obliges and ties the blue rag, but unfortunately, John follows her and immediately removes it. A terrified Amy then runs away, but the angry man begins chasing her. Moments later, Martha hears Amy scream and rushes outside to see what's going on. She soon arrives at a barn where John is terrorizing Amy with a gun and threatening to hurt her. Martha quickly intervenes to defuse the situation and invites him into the house so they can talk calmly. Upon returning to the house, John assures the girls that he never intended to hurt them. He reveals that he's just distraught over being disabled and feels that death is better than this life. After this, he threatens that if they try to hurt him again, he will shoot them all at once. John even shoots at a chandelier to prove that he is not kidding. He then proceeds upstairs, and Edwina also immediately follows him. Edwina approaches John and tries to seduce him without wasting any time. Although the man is hesitant at first, he eventually succumbs to his desires and aggressively makes love to her on the floor. Downstairs, the others try to find a solution to the problem that John has become. The girls suggest hanging or burning him, but Martha doesn't want to resort to such brutality. One of the girls then claims that John likes mushrooms very much and that Amy can find poisonous ones to feed him. Martha thinks it's a good idea, and all the girls decide to implement this plan without informing Edwina. The scene then cuts to the evening, where everyone dresses up for a big, fancy dinner. John also appears to be in a better mood after being intimate with Edwina, and he accepts the dinner invitation. During the meal, he feels embarrassed by his outburst and apologizes to everyone, but this doesn't stop the girls from changing their minds, and they offer him special mushrooms picked by Amy. John accepts them without hesitation and graciously passes them to Edwina as well. She's about to eat them, but the others remind her that she dislikes mushrooms, which Edwina agrees with.
I didn't think of that.
Meanwhile, John absolutely loves the mushrooms and says it's the best meal I've ever had. But then, he suddenly begins to gasp and has difficulty breathing. Edwina becomes worried for him, but the others don't seem to care and begin talking about trivial things. The soldier soon collapses, dead to the ground, and Edwina is devastated to realize that he was poisoned. The next morning, we see the girls sewing John's remains into a burlap sack. They place his body outside the gate and hang a blue cloth to allow the next soldiers to find him. As the movie concludes, everyone returns to their normal routines, as if nothing happened, except for Edwina, who is visibly distraught. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.